Welcome to the ShadowBear Story Sessions, the podcast about brutally dark, insanely hilarious fairy tales and folktales, going through the original versions of Grimm's fairy tales and all their brutal, dark glory. I love them so much, and how off the rails they get. Today's tale, titled The King of the Golden Mountain. We begin. A merchant had two children, a boy and a girl, who were still infants and couldn't walk, as infants do and don't. About this time, the merchant had invested his entire fortune in richly laden ships that he sent out to sea. Just when he thought he was about to make a lot of money through this venture, he received news that the ships had sunk. All of them? That's a real bad stroke of luck right there. Send them in different places, so if there's like a crazy typhoon or something, you're not just going to lose all of your ships. Well, shouldn't have invested all in on these ships instead, so now, instead of being a rich man, he was a poor one and had nothing left but a field outside the city. Yeah, you don't go all in on something that you immediately then, send off to sea. All you got is a field? It doesn't even say he's got a house. What's he going to do with this field? It doesn't say it's a farm. That would be an investment of some sort. He put all of his money into boats and waved goodbye to them, and they immediately sunk. This guy has terrible luck, but also, this is just some basic investing advice. Don't go all in on one thing, especially when it's something that can sink to the bottom of the ocean. In order to take his mind off his troubles somewhat, he went into his field. And as he was pacing back and forth, a little man suddenly stood beside him and asked him why he was so sad and what was troubling his heart. All right, first it'd be like, who are you and why are you on my field? It's the one thing I have. What's going on right now? I get it, though. It's like, oh, I've got nothing. I'm going to go wander on my field, the one thing I do have. All right, well, this man showed up, asking what's wrong. Quote, "If you could help me," said the merchant, "I'd certainly tell you." "Who knows?" answered the little man. "Just tell me. Perhaps I can help you." What a useless couple of lines there. It's like, yeah, who knows if he can help you? You gotta tell him first. How do you know if you can help someone if they don't tell you what's the problem is? Then the merchant told him that he had lost his whole fortune at sea and had nothing left but the field. "Don't worry," said the little man. "You shall have as much money as you want if you promise in 12 years from now to bring me the first thing that brushes against your leg when you return home, and you must bring it to this spot." All right. Obviously a trap, right? Don't make this agreement. Definitely don't make this agreement. Terrible idea. It's also reminiscent of a previous story when someone was like, the first thing you lay eyes upon or something when you go in your house is mine. Also, that's a bad deal on, it could go super well, but it could go super poorly for the person making the deal. If you're the little man here, why would you make that deal? The first thing that brushes your leg could be a dog. Why would you want the dog? Could be a robe. Why would you want that? You're gambling real high that it's something valuable or a person. And even then, if it's a person, then it's that's sentimental value to the person who's losing that person, not to you. That's just cruel. That's just mean. Ugh, bad bargain on both sides, if I'm being honest, for this. The merchant thought, that's not much to ask. What else can that be but my dog? There you go. Also, screw you, dude. You're just going to give away your dog like that? Of course, he didn't think of his little boy, and therefore he said yes. Double screw you, Dad. You're going to think of your child? It's oh, right, I also have a kid. Forgot about that guy. Man. All right. Then he gave the little man a signed and sealed agreement and went home. So he even wrote up a contract all up in this field. When he returned to his house, His little boy was so happy to see him that he held himself up by some benches, toddled over to his father, and grabbed him around the legs. Can't you see him coming? Run away. Run back outside. And be like, all right, stay over there. Son, stay over there. Stay over there. Don't come near me. Stay over there. Just stay over there. Someone else has to brush up against my leg. You can easily fix this and prevent this from happening. See, he's a little boy. Can't be like that fast. It says, held himself up by some benches, toddled over to his father. He's a toddler. He's not running over super fast. He's like sort of clomping on over at a real steady, slow pace. You can easily outrun or like dodge this kid. Come on, buddy. You didn't even try. I blame him entirely for this. You can avoid a toddler from brushing your leg. All right, we continue. The father was horrified, for he remembered the agreement. Yeah, the one you just made. And he knew now what he had signed away. Still, he thought the little man might have been playing a joke on him, since he didn't find any money. So he didn't even specify the way in which this man was to help him. He agreed to give him whatever the first thing that brushed his leg was without specifying what the help was, which could be anything at this point. This man is an idiot of the highest degree, as is evidenced by the fact that he lost all of his money in bad boat investments. And then he made this bad deal. This guy is a bad merchant, like all around. Merchant is all about being a merchant, being a good merchant is all about making good deals, right? By selling something for more than you buy, making agreements. Like every decision this guy makes has been awful. How did he even get the ships to begin with? The little man might have been joking with him. Nah, man, you wrote up a contract. 1 month later, however, when he went up into his attic to gather some old tinware to sell, he saw a huge pile of money lying on the floor. Convenient. Once he saw the money, he was delighted and was able to purchase things again and become an even greater merchant than before, and trusted in God to make him a good man. What does that have anything? What does that have anything to do with anything right now? In the meantime, his son grew and learned how to use his brains wisely. Oh yeah, did he? He learned how to use his brains wisely? Hopefully he learned how to use them better than you are, Dad. One day... skipped ahead. As he neared his 12th birthday, however, the merchant became so worried that one could see the anxiety written on his face. Oh yeah, that was a specified period. It was like 12 years, right? Yeah, 12 years from now. But he was a toddler at the time, so wouldn't it be like when he was like 15 or something? I don't know. This show is a show. Everything that I read is like a show in my own brain, I guess. This show is all over the place. One day, his son asked him what was bothering him, and the father didn't want to tell him. But the son persisted. You gotta warn the kid. You gotta warn him. What if he sees a little man out when he's like doing stuff? No, you just gotta be warned not to be tricked or go with the guy. But the son persisted until his father finally revealed everything to him. How without thinking, he had promised him to a little man and received a lot of money in return. Yeah, it sounds bad. It sounds pretty bad. It sounds bad when you say it like that. And how he had given the little man a signed and sealed agreement to deliver him on his 12th birthday. Oh. What? That's not what it says. It said, promise in 12 years from now to bring me the first thing that brushes against your leg when you return home. Not deliver him on his 12th birthday. He's so bad at agreements, he doesn't even remember what the agreement was. I guess this is what the story is going to commit to now, that it's like the 12th birthday thing, even though that does not hold up in terms of logic. All right. "Oh, father," said the son, "don't be discouraged. Everything will turn out well. The little man has no power over me." That's a very confident attitude for this 11-year-old to take. But then again, things have been pretty smooth sailing for him. He was a toddler and like super little when all of the bad stuff was happening. And then his dad found a bunch of money when he was still a toddler. And then things have, I guess, been great ever since then. Because he hasn't invested it and has just been using this pile of money, I guess. Doesn't say he actually did anything with it, just that he can buy things now. So hopefully he's at least keeping it in a secure place. Although, if I know this guy, it's probably just still in a pile in the attic. All right, confident kid, though. Confident kid. The son had himself blessed by the priest, and when the hour arrived, he went out to the field with his father. There he drew a circle and stepped inside it with his father. The little man came then and said to the old man, "Have you brought what you promised me?" The father kept quiet, but the son said, "What do you want here?" Again, they're just like stalling. Like he just said, "Hey, I just said what I wanted. I want what you promised me." Also, this little man doesn't know. He doesn't know what brushed your leg first. Could say anything. Say about my cat, but the cat died. So sorry, here's his ashes. Like, dude, lie. Do something. This is a stupid deal, and everyone involved is stupid. Oh, I love these stories so much. "I've come to discuss matters with your father, not with you." Fair point from the little man here. Fair point. Stay out of this. The son replied, "You deceived my father and led him astray. Give me back the agreement." No, he didn't. He didn't deceive anyone. He was very straightforward about it. This is a pretty, like, clear, signed, sealed, delivered kind of agreement. Super simple. Not, like, specific in terms of its terms, but the only thing that was specific, like, in terms of the way the little man was going to help, but the only thing that was specified was, whatever touches your leg, I get it in 12 years. That's literally it. Very clean, no deception involved. Okay. "No," said the little man. "I won't give up my rights." Good for you, little man. Stand tall, little man. They talked for a long time. I'm guessing it was more talking in circles like this until it was finally agreed that since the son no longer belonged to his father, interesting, nor did he belong to his archenemy, I guess that's the little man, he was to get into a little boat and drift downstream on the river. Okay, I don't know if I fully follow or agree with this. So this boy is 12, and I guess they're saying, like, oh, when you're 12, you're your own man. I don't think 12-year-olds are. They're 12. They're very small and still definitely in the care of their parents. I like that they tried to use that, again, in their favor, to be like, well, he's older now and he's a person, so he doesn't belong to me, which is true. Any person, even if you are not 18 or whatever legal age, you're still a person. You're still your own person. You still can't be given away in an agreement. It's literally human trafficking. So I'm glad that they're acknowledging that and acting upon that, and also that the little man accepted that. But the consequence of that being like, all right, so I guess we're going to put this kid in a boat and send him down the river. I don't see how that really solves anything or makes anyone happy, because I guess, yeah, the father is losing something, but the little man isn't gaining anything. So why would he agree to this? It's like, just give me some of the money back, or like something else. Give me something that doesn't help me sending your son down the river. Like, this isn't, I did do my end of the bargain, so I should receive something. Fine, your son is his own person. That's agreed. I gotta get something, though. Just gonna send this kid away in the river? That doesn't help me. It doesn't repay anything. All right, let's see how this goes. We continue. His father was to shove the boat off with his foot, and the son's fate was to be decided by the river. What? So the son can't even, like, control his own destiny? It's just like, hey, we'll see what happens. If you die, you die. Also, how does that relate to the terms of the agreement or have anything to do with the agreement whatsoever? It's like, okay, the son has to, like, go away and live on his own now. I still don't understand that, but, like, I don't see why it's like, we'll leave your fate up to the river. Why is his fate in question here? I thought the whole point of, like, him going away was like, he's his own person, so he cannot be part of this agreement between you and me, between the merchant and the little man. So he's separate from that. I don't know why he needs to be, like, thrown to the river, whether he lives or determine whether he lives or dies. Jesus. Okay. Well, all right. Let's see what happens here. The boy said farewell to his father, got into the little boat, and the father had to shove it off with his own foot. The little boat capsized, with the bottom up and the top face down. Since the father believed his son had drowned, he went home and mourned for him. So it, like, immediately capsized. Sounds like you should have made a bigger boat, or the boat was bad, right? Sounds like a boat problem. Nothing to do with the sun. You know what? As merchants, I think he is really bad with boats. Like, all of his boats sunk before, and now even this little boat immediately capsized. Like, it didn't even make it far enough down the river that it was out of sight. Like, he pushed off, and clearly very quickly it immediately capsized. You're bad with boats, merchant. Also, you definitely I'm sure I'm sure you would be very, very hesitant to do anything involving the sea or boats after his awful, crushing, failed investment previously. Don't put, like, your something that is the most valuable in the world to you, your own child, into a boat. We know what happens with you and boats, merchant. Don't do this. But then anyway, so yeah, dad thinks he killed a son. And at this point, probably would have been better to just give him to the little man, right? Instead of, like, well, maybe he's going to die now. That's worse, right? If he's potentially going to die, this is just stupid. We continue. However, the boat didn't sink, but continued to drift calmly downstream with the boy safely inside. What do you mean safely inside? It capsized. How is he safe? You can't just say that. Finally, it touched down upon an unknown shore and stood still. The boy went ashore, saw a beautiful castle in the distance, and went toward it. You can't just blow past that. How is he safe inside? All right. It's real hand wavy. It's just hand waving this entire plot point away in a way that makes absolutely no sense. Is he, like, living in the oxygen pocket created by the capsized boat? If that's the case, how is he managing to, like, hold on and stay with the boat? And at that point, why even do that? Go just swim ashore, right? The capsized boat, how's this any use to anyone? This story has no understanding of boats. No one in this story and the story itself don't know how boats work. None of them know how boats work. All right, we continue. So he gets to this place. Random place, there's a castle in the distance, walking toward it. When he entered, okay, so there's no one guarding it, I guess, just walked right in. When he entered, he realized it was enchanted. He went through all the rooms, but they were empty except for the last chamber where he encountered a snake. How did he realize it was enchanted? It just says it's empty, and there was a snake in a room. That doesn't tell me that anything is enchanted. I mean, if it was like a movie or something, it would be like sparkly and stuff. That's how they tell you stuff is enchanted. But in this instance, It's just a castle. It's a castle, man. I don't like when the story tells you like, oh, this is the case. I want to see that show not tell story. Even though in some instances I do think exposition is valuable, especially when it's done well. Blah 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 blah. Writer nonsense. All right, so there's a snake in a room. Now, this snake was an enchanted princess who was delighted to see him. Okay, all right. Delighted to see him and said, "Have you come at last, my savior? I've been waiting now 12 years for you. This kingdom is enchanted, and you must release it from the magic spell. Tonight, 12 men wearing chains will come and ask you what you're doing here. You must keep quiet and refuse to answer them." This is creepy as hell. What is happening? "Let them do whatever they want with you. They will torture you, beat you, and stab you." What? Let them do that. Just don't talk. Whoa, lady. All right, she continues. "At midnight, they must go away. The second night, 12 other men will come, and the third night, there will be 24 who will chop off your head." This is fully off the rails. What? Go, leave, get out of there, man. What's going on with this cat? Ugh. Okay. All right, she's not done yet, though. I need to get through this. My God. All right, so the third night there will be 24 who will chop off your head, but at midnight their power will be gone. And if you have held out until then and have not uttered a single word, I shall be saved and shall come to you carrying the water of life. I'll rub some on you, and you'll be alive again, and as healthy as you were before. Yo, that's a lot. That's a lot you just dropped on this guy, who is 12, by the way. This is a 12-year-old boy that is being asked to do this by a snake, who I guess is a princess, but right now is just a snake, telling him, "Hey, you got to stay here and don't say nothing. A guy's going to come tonight and torture you and stab you. Don't say nothing. More guys are going to come tomorrow night and also torture you and stab you and probably worse stuff. And then the worst night is the third night. And then they're going to chop off your head. But don't worry, I'm going to bring you back after. So stay here, endure 3 days of torture in this empty castle. I don't know how you're going to eat or drink water or have any medical treatment from the first 2 days of the few nights of torture and beatings. But yeah, just stay here and it'll work out as long as you agree to be beaten and tortured mercilessly and ultimately have your head chopped off. Hey, so do that for me, okay? I mean, wow. All right. I'm immediately going back out that door. No, thank you. We continue. "I shall gladly release you from the spell," the young man said. And everything happened just as she had said. The men... We're moving quickly through this. The men could not force a word out of him, and on the third night the snake turned into a beautiful princess who came with the water of life and brought him back to life. All right, we're just glossing right over the 3 days of horrible torture for this poor 12-year-old boy? This is horrifying. My God. Then she embraced him and kissed him. Okay, he's 12. Chill, princess. And there was joy and jubilation throughout the castle. Soon thereafter, they celebrated their wedding, and he was king of the Golden Mountain. He's 12. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable behavior. Even if the princess is 12, this is still not cool. This is not okay. Just be like, hey, stay here and endure a bunch of torture, and then you're king. That's not how kings should be made. Also, he's definitely got major trauma and problems now from having been tortured for 3 days and ultimately having his head chopped off. He died. He literally died. This guy is dealing with a lot. I think he just needs some help, and not to just like immediately be forced to marry this woman. Because again, they don't know. It says they just celebrated their wedding like right away. They don't know each other. If anything, there's like some trauma bonding maybe from those 3 days of torture and her being the only other person there. Or, you know, she wasn't a person, she was in snake form, but the only other living thing there besides the random people showing up to torture him. Also, why did any of that happen? What's the enchantment? What's the curse? Why is she a snake? Why does this awful stuff have to happen for the enchantment to be released? This is, my head's spinning right now. This is nuts. All right, well, that happened really fast, and we've got a lot more in this story. So he's a king of the Golden Mountain. Cool. What does that involve? From then on, they lived happily together, and the queen gave birth to a handsome boy. After 8 years had passed, this story is moving so fast. This is crazy. After 8 years had passed, the king's thoughts turned to his father. Only then, after 8 years? Also, he's 20. He's 20 years old with an 8-year-old son and a whole ton of trauma from being tortured and having to marry someone like immediately upon arriving, which happened immediately after his father pushed him off in a boat that immediately capsized, and having to deal with whatever awful, I don't know how many days and nights on the river he was in a capsized boat. That must have been terrifying too. This kid cannot catch a break. I mean, being the king is you know, good, I guess. Don't know what's in it. Says they lived happily. It says they lived happily. I'm not hearing a lot of happy stuff going on. All of the actual things that have happened in this have not been happy at all. But says they live happily. So I guess we have to take the story for its word. Just because you say something's happy doesn't mean it is, though. I wanna see it. All right, well, he's 20 years old. He's 20-year-old king with an 8-year-old son, and he's like, "Hey, remember my dad? What's going on with that?" Never thought of. I guess his mind was wiped clean by being murdered after 3 days of torture. All right, his heart went out to him, and he wished he could see him again. But the queen didn't want to let him go, and said, "I can tell that this will bring me bad luck." Ugh. Man, that's a real drag, king. So she doesn't want to let him go because she thinks it'll bring bad luck. I mean, that sounds so fake. It sounds like a fake thing. I'm sure some bad stuff's gonna happen, which is I'm really dreading already because so much bad stuff has already happened in this story. But that's awful. It's like, don't go see your father. It's going to be bad. That's like super emotionally abusive behavior from a spouse or partner or significant other. Not cool. Not cool, queen. Still, he gave her no peace until she consented to let him go. Why does he need consent? He's a king. I guess it's respectful, but it's not respectful for her to not let him. All right, well, upon his departure, she gave him a wishing ring and said, "Take this ring and put it on your finger. With it, you can transport yourself immediately to wherever you want to go." What? They have teleportation technology in the story? How's that ever come up? "But you must promise me never to use it to wish me away from here to your father's place." Come on. This is so specific. This story. This story is so fast and ridiculous every step of the way, and also setting up exactly what's going to happen. Like, oh man. This story is wild. All right. He promised her. Wait, it says you can transport yourself immediately to wherever you want to go, but you must promise me never to use it to wish me away from here to your father's place. Okay, well, according to what you said this ring is capable of, I can't do that. So why is that a concern? She said this ring allows him to travel wherever he wants to go, not to wish other people to be transported to other places, that people who he's not even with at the time. So, what the hell story yet again? Ugh, okay. He promised her. Also, man, she really does not want to meet his dad. He promised her, put the ring on his finger, and wished that he was home. Actually, in fairness, his dad sucked. So if she's told her about his dad, yeah, I'd be like, screw that guy. You don't need him. He was bad at everything and resulted in you having to get pushed off into a river that could have almost killed you or could have killed you. All right. So he put on the ring on his finger and wished he was home outside the city where his father lived. All at once he found himself outside the city. When he reached the city gate, why did you do that? Just home. My father's home. Just do that. The end. Why are you doing outside the city? When he reached the city gate, the sentries wouldn't let him enter because he was wearing such strange and rich clothes. Yeah, why did you even do this at the gate? But also, you're king. Just be like, I'm king. So he climbed a hill where a shepherd was tending to his flock. He exchanged clothes with him, put on the shepherd's old coat, and then went into the city without being disturbed. What? Say you're king. You're the king of the Golden Mountain. That's pretty cool. Like, why? That should be good, right? They should want the king to visit. That's cool. Diplomatic visit. Good for everyone. This story really pushes through its plot points. It's like, I want this to happen, so we're going to do this. Don't think about it too much. It's happening. After he got to his father's house, again, you could have just wished yourself there. He revealed his identity, but his father wouldn't believe he was his son and said that, to be sure, he had had a son, but this son had long since been dead. All right, you last saw this kid when he was 12. He's 20 now. You can see if they look similar, right? 12 to 20. Yeah, you grow up. You definitely change appearance, but you don't look like a totally different person. Ugh, okay. Nevertheless, the father offered him a plate of food since he saw he was a poor, needy shepherd. He didn't tell him what happened? He didn't tell him anything that happened? I'm truly your son, said the shepherd to his parents. His parents. This is the first mention of the mom ever. Man. Don't you remember any birthmarks you'd recognize me by? Yes, said his mother. Our son had a raspberry mark under his right arm. He pulled up his shirt, and when they saw the raspberry mark, they no longer doubted that he was their son. Then he told them that he was king of the Golden Mountain and that he had a princess as his wife and a handsome 7-year-old son. No, he's 7, I guess, not 8. This story is weird with time differences. But why didn't he tell them that to begin with? And also, why was any of that necessary, of them doubting his identity because of the clothes? Just like, why couldn't we just be like, I'm your son, and they believe him, because that's where we got eventually, and nothing really happened. Okay, I guess here's kind of answering my question, but still frustrating, even in spite of what I'm about to say. Now that can't possibly be true, said his father. What kind of a king would run around in a tattered shepherd's coat? Immediately the son got angry, and not thinking of his promise, he turned his ring and wished both his wife and son there. Come on, guys. Guys, come on. Come on, guys. The one thing and the son. And also, does that really help? You just be like, look, I have a magic ring that allows me to go anywhere. Look now, I'm going to put it on and I'm going to travel to the other side of the room. I'm a king. I have super powerful stuff. That would totally be evidence of that. Also, why did you not just teleport straight to the house? Ugh. All right, within seconds, they were with him. But the queen wept and accused him of breaking his promise and making her unhappy. That's it? That's the consequence, is that it made her unhappy? Since she was there, however, and couldn't do anything about it, she had to accept her situation, but there was evil on her mind. Wait, so there were no bad consequences to it. The only consequence is just that she's upset. But the only reason she's upset is because she made this arbitrary demand of don't bring me there. That's the only, but there's no actual consequence. That's bad. That's fine. She's meeting his dad. That's all that's happening right now. Is she's meeting she's meeting her father-in-law, and her son is meeting his grandfather. That's good. That's fine. What's your problem with that? And now you have evil on your mind? He should never have done that stuff, getting tortured and becoming and marrying this woman. The fact that to marry her, he needs to be tortured for 3 days is not a good foundation for a relationship. It's laying the groundwork for being tortured in other ways for the rest of your life. And we're seeing that happen right now. This is just making me sad now. All right, well, she's pissed and has evil on her mind. Soon thereafter, her husband led her outside the city to the field and showed her the spot on the riverbank where the little boat had been shoved off. Good time. Yeah, cool. Good times, I guess. Then he said, "I'm tired now. Sit down next to me. I'd like to sleep a little on your lap." Oh, that's sweet. But she has evil on her mind. I'm so worried. I'm so anxious for this kid. This kid is just getting rocked by all of the people around him in so many different ways. Ugh. He laid his head on her lap, and she loused him a bit until he fell asleep. Loused him? Does that mean, like, taking lice off of his head? That's gross. He's a king. You know, lice. While he was sleeping, she took the ring off his finger and drew her foot out from under him, leaving only her slipper behind. Finally, she took her child in her arms and wished herself back to the kingdom. When he was awoke, he was lying there all alone. His wife and child were gone, and the ring as well. Only the slipper as a token had been left behind. That is so sad. I'm just like genuinely upset right now. This is just depressing. So she's stranding him. Does he even know how to get there? He got there in a capsized boat the first time and then teleported back this time. This is really sad and dark. And this queen is mean. Again, nothing bad happened. All that happened was that you met your father-in-law and mother-in-law. Chill out. This guy got tortured and killed. This guy got tortured for 3 days and decapitated for you and your kingdom. Hasn't, as far as we know, has not asked for anything. Really? I mean, he became king, but that doesn't sound like a very good proposition when this is the queen and this is the circumstances under which he lives his life. This is cruel. And his son, too, taken away from him. My God, okay. Only the slipper as a token had been left behind. Quote, "You can't go back home again to your parents," he said to himself. "They'd only say you were a sorcerer. You'd better pack up and get back to your kingdom." So he... maybe, I don't know. Why would they just be like, yeah, they went back home. I'm going to go home too. Goodbye. So I guess just bailing now. Man. So he went on his way and finally came to a mountain where 3 giants were standing and quarreling about how best to divide their father's inheritance. This story is crazy, and it just keeps going, and it's rifling through these plot points at an unbelievable pace. Now there are giants quarreling over an inheritance. Okay, all right, let's see what's going on here, guys. When they saw him riding by, they called to him and said that since little people were clever, okay, they wanted him to divide the inheritance among them. Weird, very trusting of these giants to just like, hey, you random person, determine the inheritance of our father's estate. Wow, big responsibility for a random person. And their justification was like, little people are smart. Well, I mean, this is such a stupid decision that it kind of inherently validates their claim that little people are clever because they clearly are very dumb. However, we've all met this guy's dad, the merchant, so we know that some normal-sized human people very dumb as well too. This inheritance consisted of 3 things. First, a sword. Well, that's convenient. That's 3 things, and there's 3 giants. All right. First, a sword that chopped off everyone's head except that of the person who held it, and said, all heads off except mine. The sword says this? I guess the sword says that. Then the heads would lie on the ground. Why does it need to specify that? Second, a cloak. That's the first thing, is a sword that cuts off everyone's head except yours, and in doing so announces the phrase, all heads off except mine. Then the heads would lie on the ground, because of course they would, because that's what heads do when they are chopped off. I mean, that's a situation where, like, I don't want that, but I also don't want to be the guy who doesn't have that, because then that means your head's going to get chopped off, right? All right. Immediately, the stakes are super high for how how this estate gets divided. Maybe just give that to the one with the coolest head, the one who's like not gonna get mad about anything, right? But it doesn't even say that the person does the chopping. It just says that the sword does. This is like and the sword talks, so it's like sentient. This is a sentient, malicious sword that cuts off everyone's heads except its owner. This should be buried. This should be destroyed. No one should inherit this. This is like a nuclear weapon of the Middle Ages. This is ridiculous. All right, second, a cloak that made one invisible if one put it on. Third, all right, that's so much better. The cloak, invisibility cloak? Hell yeah. However, this begs a question. If you're wearing the invisibility cloak, will the sword know that you're there and want to chop your head off? I want to find out. I really hope we find out. Third, a pair of boots that carried the person who wore them to any spot he wished in a matter of seconds. That's cool too. Why? Those are so much better than this like insane sword. Maybe that's why they're quarreling, because no one wants the sword, because it's awful. Like you can't have any like friends or like romantic interests or like anything. It's the sword of loneliness is what this is. Just whoever has this is doomed to. But what, it was their dad's? What happened with that? Is you can't even like bring this sword into war or anything, because it'll kill everyone on your side as well. It'd be like a 1-man army. That's kind of cool. Hopefully there's an off switch though or something. This is nuts. I'm pretty into this actually. I just like this on its own as a story. The king told them that they had to give him the 3 objects so that he could test them to see if they were in good condition. That's why you got to test them to see if they're in good condition. Why do you have to test them to see? It doesn't matter if they're in good condition. You still, how would that affect anything? Man, these giants are dumb, because we see what's going to happen here. They handed him the cloak, and when he had put it on his shoulders, he wished to become a fly. and he immediately turned into a fly. That's not what the cloak does. We've been told this is an invisibility cloak, not a transformation cloak. What? This story is playing by its own rules, guys. This might be the craziest story I've ever done on this. This might be the craziest story yet. This story has no regard for temporal consistency, for keeping time periods the same, the 12 years discrepancy, then the 8-year to 7-year. Like, this story is just playing by its own rules. To be honest, I kind of respect it. Pretty baller move, but man, okay, I guess he's an invisible fly now. It didn't even say that he became invisible. It just said that he put it on his shoulders, wished to become a fly, and became a fly. So nothing even happened with regards to invisibility, even though that's literally the only thing we were told this cloak does. All right, we continue. The cloak is good, he said. Now give me the sword. No, they said. We won't give it to you. If you say all heads off except mine, we'd lose our heads, and you alone would keep yours. Okay. So the person holding the sword says all heads off except mine, and then that's like a command, and then it jumps into action and kills everyone's heads. And the giants figure this out. They saw through this, at least. But also, isn't he a fly now? He's a fly. He's turned into a fly. You can't hold a sword if you're a fly, buddy. All right. But the giants have figured it out. They're like, no, we're not going to do that, because then you could just totally kill us easily. We continue. Nevertheless, they gave it to him. But guys. Ugh. Okay. Nevertheless, they gave it to him on condition that he try it out on a tree. He did that, and the sword was also good. Now he wanted to have the boot. So it didn't cut anyone's heads off. None of these things do the things that we were told that they do. It chopped a tree, but the sword is... He tried it out on a tree. So did he just use the tree? Did he just hit the tree with the sword? Because you don't need to test that. You can see that. If you want to test that it's in good condition, you do the all heads off thing to test it. Right? That's a pointless test then. Also, I wouldn't give it to him at all. Under the condition? There's no conditions. Once he has it, if he wants to say the thing, you're immediately all dead. And again, it's not what it said it does. This is wild. All right, now he wanted to have the boots, but they said, no, we won't give them away. If you put them on and wish yourself on top of the mountain, then we would stand here below with nothing. So again, they called him out. Oh no, he said, I'd never do anything like that. So they gave him the boots as well. But when he had all three objects, he wished himself to be on top of the golden mountain, and he was immediately there. Moreover, the giants had vanished, and this was the way their inheritance was divided. All right. Well, I have now lost respect for the protagonist. He was the one person who hadn't really done anything wrong. And now he has stolen these giants' father's belongings. These are the things that they have to remember their father by. They're weird things. You know, it's not a normal inheritance. They're weird items. But this is the stuff that their dad had, and they wanted to divide it between themselves, and he just came along and stole it all. And I judge him for it. And that sucks. That really sucks for these giants. Now I feel bad for the giants. They didn't deserve this. But again, I can't get past the fact that, like, why did he turn into a fly? Why was that a thing at all? Could it also, and he was not invisible, because then they just gave him the sword, which again didn't do what we were told it does, and then wanted the boot. Like, if you're gonna do this system, be like, okay, we'll give you the boots, but give us back the other stuff first. You don't just like load him up with all the stuff. You know, that's dumb. That's a dumb thing to do. Also, what's even the point of having the giants be like, no, we're not going to do that, because then you could do this, when they just do it anyway every time? Why even do that in the story, just from a writing perspective? All right. Okay, well, he's a dick now. This guy sucks. When the king now drew near the castle, he heard cries of joy and the sounds of fiddles and flutes. The people at the court told him that his wife was celebrating her wedding with another man. These people, man, these people are all awful. Everyone in this story is awful. I mean, I guess now we know why she wanted to get rid of him, and this was never about the, him making her upset, or he didn't do anything to make her upset, really. This wasn't anything about that. She liked this other guy all along, and I don't know why she married him. Okay, they were 12. We don't know how old she is. She could be like a 50-year-old woman. Who knows? This story is insane. The story is insane. Also, I'm very nervous about the fact that his wife is marrying another man, and now he is in possession of a sword that literally chops, quote, everyone's head off. That's not a targeted weapon. Like, there's a wedding going on, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of guests at that wedding who I have to assume there are some people who aren't awful in this kingdom. However, I haven't seen it yet, other than, I guess at this point, the 3 giants are the only non-terrible people. The giants and maybe his son, I don't know, but maybe they're all awful too, and we just don't know enough about them yet, because that's how this has gone. Anytime we spend enough time with a character, they reveal themselves to be awful. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it takes a while, but they all do. Man, okay. Well, married to another man. So he put on the cloak and turned himself into a fly. Again, that's not an invisibility cloak. This is just does it only turn you into a fly? What is going on here? All right. Then he went into the castle and took a place behind his wife, and nobody saw him. When they put a piece of meat on her plate, he snatched it and ate it. And when they gave her a glass of wine, he snatched it and drank it. They kept giving her food and wine, but she would always end up with nothing, because her plate and glass would vanish immediately. All right, so it is an invisibility cloak, and he's like grabbing things and they're disappearing into the cloak. That's cool, but the fly thing again seems unnecessary and also dumb. And also, if he turns into a fly, you can't be carrying around a sword. So, don't know why the fly thing is part of this at all. It's not what we're told the cloak does, and I'm assuming now that, like, it makes so much more sense for him to be standing behind her in an invisibility cloak. Something gets put down, he grabs it and takes it into the cloak, and then it's invisible. That makes so much more sense. This fly thing is just confusing matters. All right, we continue. She became so ashamed that she left the table, went into her chamber, and began weeping, while he stayed behind her all the time. Why is she ashamed? That's not really cause for embarrassment. Other people would presumably, like, right when they're being put down, the food and the wine, he's grabbing them. So whoever's putting them down would presumably see this as well. Or you'd see them go into something. You'd see them move. They wouldn't just immediately vanish. Unless when he touches something, then it vanishes. Maybe that. But even if that were happening, other people would see that and be like, oh man, that's crazy. What's going on? And so she would have no reason to be ashamed. And then like go in her room and cry. It's a weird reaction. Just like go somewhere else. Be walking and eating. There's other solution to this problems. Other solutions to this problem. All right. We continue. Quote, has the devil got me in his power? She said out loud to herself. Perhaps my savior never came. What does that mean, your savior never came? Is she referring to her new fiance? What's going on? We continue. Then he gave her a couple of rough smacks in the face. Dude, no. What is your problem? This guy, I hate this guy now. This guy's awful. No, not okay. Not okay. My God. Okay, so he hit her and said, quote, your savior came. Now he's got you in his power, you faithless thing. Did I deserve to be treated the way you treated me? Well, based on your recent behavior, you're not a good guy. So I don't know. Maybe you did. No, even if you were a terrible person, what she did was still like not okay and like a weird way to do it. I mean, if he was like a monster, maybe that's actually a mercy that she didn't like somehow get him killed. Presumably she's like, she is the princess. Like she was the royalty. He married into this thing. So presumably she's got like support and family and infrastructure and like could probably get him killed if she wanted to or banished or whatever. And if all of that's the case, leaving him back with his parents, not the worst thing. If anything, it's just returning home, which is fine, I guess, right? For people. Why is that, you're not king anymore, but like, she's not going to kill you or nothing worse is going to happen. Your son is taken away. That's really sad. I don't know. I'm very confused by all of this. I'm very lost. But yeah, he's like being absolutely terrible and like actually hitting her and also verbally berating her. All right. After saying this, he went into the hall and announced that the wedding was over and that he had returned. But he was mocked by the kings, princes, and ministers who were assembled there. Why? Because she was about to marry another person? Ugh. Since he wanted to make short work of them, he asked them to leave or else. Upon hearing that, they tried to take him prisoner, but he took out his sword and said, all heads off except mine. Ooh. All at once, they all lay there in blood, and he was once again king of the Golden Mountain. The end. Whoa, guys. That is a dark ending. Oh my God. That is a really dark ending. So now him and his wife are in a horrible situation. That relationship is super bad, like terrible. They can't stay in that relationship. He's like, now, yeah, what? They can't stay married. They're for sure over. It says it like, and he was once again king of the Golden Mountain. I mean, the only way I can understand this being is if this is like a cautionary tale, like, but it seems to frame it as like a victory for him. But no, his life would be awful now. He just murdered so many people who presumably all have, it says kings, ministers, princes. they all have like families and people who rely on them. If they're also kings and princes, and if they're kings like other kingdoms were invited to this wedding and he just killed all of them, now their kingdom is gonna be at war with all of those other kingdoms. And, since he killed a bunch of kings, then a bunch of kingdoms are going to attack him and probably going to win because they're very much outnumbered if it's a bunch of kings and a bunch of kingdoms that are attacking him. So the state of things, is that he is in a horribly emotionally, verbally, and physically abusive relationship. He has a castle full of dead people, and his kingdom is about to be attacked by all of their kingdoms. I don't know. He should have stayed home. He should have. Everything would have been better for everyone, him included, if he just stayed at home in the field with his parents after she left with the slipper. I mean, he stole all that stuff from those poor giants. And now he like has this kingdom like hostage, and his wife, who like, yeah, she did a not okay thing, but now his behavior is really not an acceptable response to it. And he has killed so many people now who really haven't done. They tried to take him prisoner, and he still is king. I'm trying to think if he. I mean, he definitely, regardless, he has no right to kill all of them. They shouldn't take him prisoner. But man, this story is a lot. This story really messes with your head. I mean, I'm here for it. It's hardcore. I am all about this story. This is one of the wildest stories I've read in Grimm's fairy tales yet, or any fairy tale or folk tale. And I'm totally here for it. All on board. Absolutely love the craziness. But whoa, is there a lot going on? And whoa, does it end up dark. And he's got a son. You don't want him to see. It's better for him to be raised in like a happy kingdom, even if it was with another dad, than like this hellscape that he's now created upon returning. It didn't try to resolve anything with the wife. He just like harassed her and then followed her back to the room and attacked her. This is insane. This story is insane. All right, I am just like ruminating on this and just spiraling. So I'm gonna end that there. And man, wow, this one's a lot. This one's a lot, guys. Is the lessons here: be good to the people that you love. Be good. Be kind to the people in your life. Be careful about getting into any dubious agreements with anyone. I guess that's lesson number one from very early. It feels like years ago now. It feels like ages ago that was what was happening in the story. And yeah, honestly, I feel like he never should have agreed to the torture. That really did set the stage. That's what ultimately happened. And there's an interesting kind of synchronicity or sort of bookend with, when he was killed on the third night of the torture by having his head cut off. And the end of the story, he cuts everyone else's head off. I find that interesting. That synchronicity there. I'm going to generously make the connection. That those 3 days of torture set the stage for the rest of his life, and by agreeing to that was his life. His life then became, it says they lived happily for a while, but they couldn't have been happy based on the way the queen then behaved. Her being like, no, don't leave. And then when he did leave, being like, all right, you got to do this. And then he did the thing she said not to do. And then she was unmerciful about it. Like that's not a happy relationship. The all of those things happening means that they were not living happily. There were problems there. There was something going on. And yeah, shouldn't have that having happened, he shouldn't don't go if someone leaves you like his wife did on at the river. Man, it's devastating that that same river where his dad pushed him off is the place where his wife left him. That's brutal. But if someone leaves you like his wife did, don't go back and try to reclaim, quote unquote, your kingdom. It's gone. It's never going to be back. It's never going to be what it was. It's not there anymore. It's not there for you. You can go back physically, but it will be it will not be it will be a worse place. It'll be a brutal place. It'll be a terrible place because it is not a place of happiness. Because she left. So don't go back there. That's the only lesson I can think of. Man, all right. This one is we're over an hour already. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to do an adaptation for this one. This one was a ride, man. I'm here for it. I am so here for this. But yeah, I think those are some good lessons to take because this was so freewheeling and wild and all over the place. And, but yeah, I am shaken to my core by this story. So yeah, be good to each other out there, guys. Be good to people, whether you like them or not. We're all dealing with our own stuff. We all have a hard time. Let's all just be a little kinder to one another. That's what I'm gonna take from the king of the Golden Mountain. Take care. Take care, folks. Oof.